everyone, and welcome back to the DSS Break. It's great to have all of you with us today. We're here live every week to discuss the world of data science, machine learning, and AI, and we chat about unique experiences and best practices with leading data professionals in a 15-minute break. I'm Anna, the founder of Data Science Salon, and today I'm streaming directly from our HQ, which is beautifully located in the heart of Miami, just a few blocks away from the design district. And today I'm really excited to host KP Reddy, who's the founder and CEO of Shadow Ventures. And we will talk about building the future, venture capital's role in transforming AEC technologies. And KP will share his extensive experience in integration of AI and robotics and cloud computing in the architectural, engineering, and construction sectors. And that's what that stands for, AEC. Some of you don't know. And I'm really excited to learn how VC is driving innovation in these traditional industries, fostering advancements that are not only shaping modern building and design, but also are setting the stage for future infrastructure development, which is huge for cities all over the world. And I'm really excited about this session because I'm not really familiar with the space, but I'm a huge fan, especially of the A part, the architectural part of this whole thing. So thank you so much for joining us for this DSS break, KP.
Hey, Anna, how are you?
Great. It's so nice to have you here. So I wanted to just learn a little bit more about your journey and what got you interested in this sector in the first place.
Yeah, I think so. I'm a second generation civil engineer and actually started writing software when I was 13 for my dad's engineering firm. So in many ways, I think I just got onto this path at a very young age. And then, of course, like a lot of kids of my generation, they got into computing. We got our first Apple II or IBM PC, and then it just never stopped. The internet came along, so I practiced as an engineer for a while, and then built a startup on the side during the internet days to really focus on construction management using the internet. And all these contractors told me that the internet was a toy and they would never use it for construction work. So I was super fortunate, pivoted, and was able to make a market in telecom and took that company public. And from there, I was able to kind of craft my own journey. So built some other companies in the tech space. And then about 5-6 years ago, after running the incubator at Georgia Tech in Atlanta, I kind of said, this is interesting. I'd rather work with several startups and be an investor and advisor than just run my own. So I kind of got focused on that and got a lot of support from the industry. So a lot of my investors across our two funds are from the engineering, construction, building product space. And that's really what motivated me, that the industry is starting to put their money where their mouth is. A lot of old school industries will talk about, we need to change, we need to be innovative. And they say all the words, and then they go back to doing what they were doing. So,
right.
So I think that signal from industry got me enthusiastic and excited that this industry that told me the internet was a toy back in 1997 has actually come around.
Yeah, no, I think they have to, or they're going to be blockbusters, So, and I feel like now let's dive in a little bit into how venture capital is shaping the real tech adoption in architecture and construction, because I feel like it's fairly new, right? It's not really there, as you said, it is an adoption in an older industry, right? So
yeah, there's about half a dozen of us focused on this space, and largely most of the technology is run by incumbent software providers that really have no incentives to be that innovative. These companies have been working with these firms for 20, 30, 50 years, and are just like locked in. It reminds me of the days of Microsoft back in the 90s where everybody just ran on Microsoft, and so I think what's happened is the industry's been pretty fed up with this lock-in and is seeking new solutions. And then honestly, there's culturally there's a shift. The people in the C-suite now started their careers with compute, right? They started their careers, they're in their 50s and 60s, and they're native users of computers and technology, versus when I first launched my first startup, I had executives who their assistants would print out their emails for them and put them on their desk. Right.
Yeah.
So those folks are all gone, right? So the next generation is here, and they're fairly savvy about it. And I think that, driven by the amount of backlog and work that exists globally, we are an industry that is still booming. We've been on a 10-year boom, and we're still moving. And there's not enough talent in this space, so you can't find construction labor and engineers. Kids aren't excited about civil engineering and mechanical engineering these days. So it's created a massive labor shortage. So they really don't have a choice. It's not one of these things where, oh, we'll just throw 2 more people at it. Those people don't exist.
Right. So that goes to the next question, and probably your answer to where, AI and robotics must play a huge role in these projects, right?
It is, if you think about, so specifically for us, in the large construct of AI, we've done a lot in the world of computer vision. Because if you think about what we do, we look at drawings, we look at things, and then we go out into the field and we look at a lot of things. So, so it's very vision driven. So a lot of what we have focused on is computer vision based things, as well as ML, but a lot of it's the nature of our market that everything is so much embedded in visuals. So, now job sites have 2 or 3 drones being flown all the time. Everyone has an iPhone. Everybody's got a GoPro. So there's so much visual data being collected. And what we've seen is all that's just getting dumped on a hard drive somewhere, on the cloud somewhere. And now we're able to apply computer vision principles against it and actually start updating the schedule and start identifying issues and safety issues and all kinds of issues that you couldn't do before. And same thing with robots. Running robots in a factory environment where the conditions are always the same. Maybe you don't need AI, but we just invested in a company in Israel that does fully autonomous painting. So
Oh wow,
you
that's
push
cool.
the button on the robot and you leave for the day. And it's
I love
constantly
that. That's really efficient.
right, and it's constantly 3D scanning the space and making adjustments because it's being left alone. So we deal with a difficult work environment on construction job sites. So AI plays a pretty big role in terms of understanding the ever-changing physical environment. You go in one day and there's not a wall there, and you go in the next day and there's a wall there, right? So you definitely have to, as a robot, you have to adapt to it.
For sure. So yeah, that's one interesting use case. Do you have any other ones you could share from your startups?
Yeah, we have another company, Bot Built. They basically frame houses. So what they have figured out is, so construction's a cheap industry. Don't get me, it is a cheap industry. And what they figured out is how to use robots off the shelf. In fact, they're buying them off eBay. They're buying used robots off the internet. And they've applied machine learning and computer vision software to these robots to make them smart. And so they're actually able to frame houses using these robots in a very inexpensive way. So their special sauce is all the AI and computer vision software. So you feed the software the set of plans, and it takes the plans and automatically creates, like, this is how this needs to be built. And then it tells the robots what to do and goes and does it. So so that's another one on the robotics side. And then we have another one called Aaron, that you fly drones around a bridge, and it'll analyze the entire bridge, create a 3D model, look at every single crack and imperfection in the bridge, run engineering analysis, and tell you which cracks need repaired. And why that's so important, people don't realize in America, almost like 100% of our bridges would fail inspection.
Well, there was that bridge thing that happened recently, right? With the ship going into it and it crashed. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're seeing it in every market. You're seeing little bridge issues happening, and the reason being, historically, you hired an engineering firm to go dangle off these bridges and inspect them. This is what you did.
Yeah.
And so when I graduated, I did that for buildings. I would dangle off a 20-story building as an engineer with a little notebook, looking at all the cracks and making notes.
Wow.
It's insane. So imagine that with a bridge. So you can't physically go inspect all the bridges.
Yeah, quick side question about the bridge, since it got me thinking about what can be done with this cool technology. Like, the Golden Gate Bridge gets painted all year round by people. Do you think that's going to get automated by these kind of drones that could go and paint the bridge? Because I feel like it's such a dangerous job, and why are these people doing it? I
No,
always felt like that could be automated somehow, right?
Yes, I was just in the UAE, and I was at some sites in Dubai, and they have drones that are watching the buildings. They fly the drones. They have a hose on them. They fly up and down, and they spray the building down, and it's all automated.
Yeah,
right?
not surprised.
It's wild.
Yeah.
And that's a market where labor is abundant and available. They just said it's too dangerous for us to, in that weather especially, hanging people off the side of buildings to clean windows. That's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. And the next question I had was, how can emerging AEC technologies mitigate the risks associated with large-scale construction projects? I'm sure there's so many risks, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of risks around schedule, safety, et cetera. But what the post-pandemic environment has really taught everyone is just how fragile our supply chain is. And so the ability to optimize while you're designing, to understand, am I designing with a product that's even available? And it sounds like, if you're not from the industry, it sounds insane, but they design entire buildings not even knowing if the product is available. And then by the time it's built 2 years later, that product may not even exist. It might be, they might not be making it anymore. They might have a different version. And there's just a massive disconnect. It's like I always say, if Apple designed phones, like, oh, we're not sure what camera is going to be available. We'll see. And that's what we do that's every construction job. And so that disconnect to really design, understanding availability, understanding what products are available. Designers still have physical libraries. They go like, oh, let me go see what paint, what HVAC system. They're still going into these catalog rooms. They have libraries. And so it's really hard to get new technology in, especially in the world of decarbonization. Like, there's a lot of new products that are just better for the environment, but they never make it to the designer's desk because they just design with, we designed the last 10 buildings with this product. Let's just design the next 10 buildings with this product.
Right. So it seems like the impact is quite huge with this.
Yeah.
And maybe we could talk a little bit about urban development and planning, because I feel like this is really where the huge impact comes, right? And you especially in fast growing markets and cities and centers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the things that we don't do well, because now you have a lot of data, so you can make better decisions. But a building doesn't exist in its own little silo in an urban center. It's a massive ecosystem. It all has to work together. And so when you think about that, being able to simulate, what if we put this building here? What happens with daylighting, traffic, footpath? How do and what I really, being a civil engineer and having all my friends that are in this industry, I try to remind them, we're not in the business of building buildings. We're in the business of shaping society. And if we do it in a vacuum, we're not going to get anywhere, right? So if you just worry about your little piece of land and how your building's going to work for you, it's a big disservice to your entire community. And so I think that's where a lot of the data we're getting now, trend data. We invested in a company in Canada called Local Logic, and they integrate 100 points of data, something ridiculous, to understand what the trends are. Where are these neighborhoods going? What's happening? Let's make sure we build the right thing, not just for today, but these buildings last 50 years, 100 years. We don't need to tear them down. The problem is we don't have enough foresight and information to really understand where the market's going to design and build appropriately.
Yeah, that makes sense. And what about the importance of data security and privacy and the integration of IoT and cloud technologies with this, in this sector?
Yeah, so Cloud has been adopted fairly well, kicking and screaming.
I know. It
We're
has.
finally there. Finally there. I don't think anyone's excited about having servers anymore and hosting their things. And of course, because of cloud, there's an inherent level of security that's kind of bought through the process of working with cloud providers. There's been a lot of push for the last 10 years around digital twins and really like how do we think about these buildings in a different way, and how do you get them to self-heal, self-adjust, and let's put all these IoT sensors in there. It hasn't gone well. It's been a great idea, right?
Yeah.
But once again, in the building system space, there's like 4 companies that do all of it, right? It's Honeywell, Johnson Controls, and so you kind of get stuck to the whim of what these big providers will give you. And they don't have to be as innovative. So we invested in an IoT company that does water management, so leak detection and auto cutoff and humidity monitoring and just a lot of different things around the building. But of course, they're fighting tooth and nail because someone says, "Oh, we're on a Honeywell system."
Of course,
you integrate with them, and they have to like fight that battle. So it's definitely like hand-to-hand combat out there for my startups.
Well, I'm hoping that, it's just you're going to be winning more and more because they have to, again, things have to move forward and adjust, and, all these big companies have to innovate as well, right? So, and my last question for you in this sector is, how has the venture capital involved? It seems like, you said there's you and maybe 3 other people that are doing this, and but hopefully there'll be more, right?
Yeah, I think, we play seed stage. And I think what's
Okay.
important, and the reason we do that is we have great partnerships with the large generalists for the Series A rounds. So in many ways, we're kind of a feeder system to the big firms, and I think it works well because the big firms. This industry is very nuanced. If you've ever spent time socially with an architect, you'll realize how nuanced this industry is. And it's really hard for them to understand every industry. What they understand is metrics and growth and market opportunities. And so we really feel like being from the industry, myself and my CTO, Matt Ullman, we've been working together for 15 years. And we know the space pretty well. And then we have, a lot. I mean, we have a lot of investors behind us that are really helpful. They really help us vet the technology. Would you use it? Why wouldn't you use it?
Yeah, that's key.
It's huge.
Yeah. And before we wrap up, can you tell us a little bit about your recent book that you just published?
Yeah, so it's my 3rd book. It's called Creating the Intangible Enterprise, How to Thrive in an AI-Driven World. And it came from me talking in industry and this fear that people had around AI, and it's going to put them out of a job. AI can design a building. Well, yeah, it can. Right? I mean, we're getting there, right? AI can build a building, So a lot of my friends, not just in our industry, but in other industries said, what are we going to do with ourselves? My accountants were like, oh, AI is going to take our jobs. And so I really sat down and started writing this book last year to give people some stories, some of my own personal stories, seeing that I've been in technology since I was a kid and what I've seen happen, as well as some stories of success where there's been these tectonic shifts in technology. And how people have thrived in those environments, and really to get people out of that mindset of fear and really get into a mindset of abundance and really think about critically, and also help them understand, like, here's the 10 skills you should start working on. Like, it's not just going to happen. You just can't change your mind. You actually have to start using some muscles that maybe you've never used before. I know you have them. You just got to go train them a little bit. And so a lot of the book is really trying to help people understand, get out of the fear mindset, and then really get into a growth mindset, thinking about specifically what do I need to, what skills do I need to hone to be successful.
Right. Cool. Well, we'll share a link to it in the little comment section, and you guys should check it out. I definitely will. I like any kind of stories, and I agree with you. I think it's an opportunity for everybody versus a threat. So thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Absolutely.
And for sharing your amazing expertise with our audience. It was such a pleasure to have you, KP.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, guys. And thanks for joining us. And everybody have a wonderful rest of the week. Bye.